Steve Jewin, MMA Mania.
All right, you're good, Steve.
All right, Logan, it's good to talk to you again, and thank you for the time you gave us after your big win at Bellator 204. It was a pleasure to get to talk to you after that fight. Have you had a chance to soak in that win since then?
Yeah, it was a big fight back home in front of the hometown people, and so I was excited to get the finish in front of them, and I'm excited for this next fight.
Second in a row on a main card as well, so it's a big spotlight once again, and you get a chance to go out there and possibly improve to 10-0.
Yeah, that's the goal, and that's the purpose. Walk into that cage is get another finish and improve that record.
Well, I think it's interesting that right now you're not in that Grand Prix. So, what are your thoughts then about the fact that you're sharing the spotlight?
It is what it is. When the tournament got announced, I think I was only 3-0 in the Bellator cage, maybe 2-0, 3-0. And so I understand, some of those guys that have been around, guys they signed, and that's who they put in there. And, there's not much you can say. And so I just continue to put my head down and continue to work and continue to get wins.
Do you think, though, that you could be a tournament alternate at some point if somebody is injured and unable to continue?
I think they already have their alternate slot set up. And with the semifinals coming on, after this weekend or after April, it'll be semifinals. I think it'll be tough for someone to jump in there after not having to fight the first round. I don't know how people will take that. So I don't know. Obviously, you're always prepared for anything that Bellator calls you, and so we're ready. If something like that happens, perfect. But we'll see. Right now for me, biggest thing I'm concerned about is February 15th.
Absolutely, and you've got a very tough opponent ahead of you in Ian Pascu. They call him the Bombardier because he likes to throw big bombs.
Yeah, he's a tough guy, and he's got some big power and some decent wrestling, and we're well prepared and have a good game plan, and we're ready for anything that's thrown at us.
The interesting thing about Pascu, well, there are many interesting things about him, but the one that comes to mind immediately is, despite his overall record and his reputation for knockouts, he has yet to get a win in Bellator, and I know you don't want to be his first.
Yeah, he's fought two tough guys against Ed and Lorenz Larkin, and so he gave those guys problems, but we got a good game plan, and we know what we have to do to get in there and get the W.
Does it help at all then that you can watch those films as fights with Ed, Ruth, and Lorenz Larkin and kind of pick apart things that he did wrong in those bouts?
Yeah, I think just being a competitor, you always want to watch a little bit on your guy and see where, places he struggled and places where, he had a tough time and places where he was well, where he did well and where he's good at.
Well, let's take it in a different direction for a minute. How have you enjoyed this newfound spotlight now that you've been featured on Bellator main cards? Has it made you more visible when you're out training, when you're out doing stuff?
It's been great. Back home with, especially, South Dakota stuff. A lot of people knew me with wrestling, and now getting to watch me, at one of the best organizations in the world, competing against the best fighters in the world. It's been really cool, and it's been great to make that transition from college wrestling into MMA.
Some people are just doing it now a little later in life, like the former Jack Swagger, a.k.a. Jake Hager, bringing that University of Oklahoma wrestling. I wouldn't say it's as good as the University of Minnesota wrestling, but they're all right.
Yeah, he had a good performance, and, he looked good, so that was fun to watch.
And it goes with that old saying in MMA that wrestlers have the easiest transition in mixed martial arts because that's the strongest base of the sport.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys from all backgrounds have success, obviously, but, the guys that stick with it and continue to pick up new skills, wrestlers that pick up new skills and adapt and become a true mixed martial artist, but stick to their roots, I've had a lot of success, and so it's fun to watch these other wrestlers doing well at other weight classes.
Well, speaking of which, that's a good transition back to your fight with Ian Pascu, because I want to know what new skills you've picked up since that fight with AJ Matthews in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I don't know if you really, pick up crazy new things. You just refine things and improve little things and get better in little situations. And, so for me, the biggest thing is just getting better in little situations and finding ways to get the finish each fight, get to a dominant position and get guys tired and break them down and get finishes.
Well, you've not had a problem breaking people down because a lot of your fights have ended by TKO. But I'm wondering, have you got in the back of your mind that you'd really love to just blast a guy standing and knock him out cold?
Yeah, that would be great. For me, it's just whatever happens, whatever comes to you in the fight. I'm not going to force something just looking because I want to, standing KO. I'm going to do what's best for me and what's happening in the fight to go get a finish, and whatever way that is, I'm okay with. And so if a guy's hurt and you get the KO on his feet, that's great. If you take it to the ground and beat him up, that's great too.
I think a lot of people were expecting in the Ryan Bader and Fedor Emelianenko fight, they thought, well, he's a great wrestler, he'll take Fedor down and humble him on the ground, and yet that lead left hook caught Fedor so clean. Yeah,
the threat of the takedown definitely makes things different, for guys. And you kind of change things up a little bit, and it makes things kind of harder to read, when they're making that, those little fakes and the level change. And you never, you don't know if a punch is coming or a takedown. And so it worked out really well for Ryan, and I was excited. I was trained with him my first year and a half of MMA, and I know him really well. And so that was an awesome moment for him to become double champ.
Right, and beat a legend to become a legend, too. That's the kind of thing I'm sure you hope to do here at some point in your career.
Yeah, it's always looking forward to, the future, but right now you got to take care of what's in front of you.
Right, Ian Pascu is definitely what's in front of you on the 15th, but let's just play the speculation game, title aspirations, looking past the welterweight Grand Prix when there's a tournament decided and a champion in the books. What would you like then? Would you like to challenge the champion at that time?
Yeah, I think this tournament's going to take a little while. They got a couple rounds left, so it's going to take a little bit. But obviously, the biggest thing for me is to continue to get this win next Friday night, and then continue to fight high-level guys and continue to beat them up and get finishes and put yourself in that situation, get a title shot.
Yeah, and there's no shortage of high-level guys in that tournament. The champion, Rory, the challenger, John Fitch, and a big fight with MVP and Daly. Those are both big bombers, hard hitters, so you can't go wrong with any one of those fights when it comes to the level of talent in that pre.
No, not at all. And there's, like I said, lots of talent and lots of different styles. And so, we're excited. It's fun to watch those guys compete and see guys that you'll be facing in the future.
Now, how's your weight for this fight? How close are you to being on weight for it?
My weight's great. I've been working with Mike Barwith, me and Robbie Lawler, Luke Rockhold, with our strength conditioning and nutrition, and he's the best in the world. He really truly is the best in the world at what he does, and everything's a science and everything's broken down, but at the end of the day it's hard work too. It's not it's about getting in there and putting your time and getting better with the strength conditioning and being disciplined on your nutrition to make things easy these last 10 days, not have to do a big weight cut.
I think it's also a little easier for a guy in his mid-20s to do that, because speaking as a guy in his mid-40s, those pounds don't come off as easy.
Yeah, I've obviously helped me too. I've been used to cutting weight since I started wrestling 20 years ago, and so didn't matter. You didn't cut a lot of weight when you're little, but you still had to be weighing at the weight class, whether it was 65 pounds or whatever. You got to make 65 pounds. So that was I'm used to that, and I've been used to that for a long time, and And I feel like I've done a good job in my previous fights of not making it hard on myself to cut the weight and not waiting till the last second. And so, we got a good thing going.
When you look back on those days when you were an amateur wrestler, when you were a collegiate wrestler, when you were making weight for those matches and going to meets all the time, was it easier or harder than being a pro fighter now?
I think it just depends, things were tougher, your schedule with college wrestling, you're wrestling and competing 35 times a year. And, January, February, when you get into that Big Ten schedule, you're on a plane, you're flying to Michigan to wrestle Michigan State on the Friday and Michigan on the Sunday. You're getting back on the plane, flying home, and then you have school Monday. You gotta take care of that, and then you're back to training. So things like that are tough, MMA, obviously, there's a little more. The nice thing about wrestling was if you had a bad night on Friday, you could make up for it on Sunday. If you had 2 bad weeks, you could go on a big run, get ready for Big Tens and NCAs, and people kind of forgot about what happened, And with fighting, you don't get to do that. You only compete, I guess, 2 to 4 times a year. And so, you don't get quite as comfortable as you'd like to compared to wrestling, In a tournament, sometimes you're wrestling 3-4 times in one day, and so the level of comfort is different, but, they're both tough, but the college wrestling grind is one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. Making weight twice a weekend and going back and then having to be a student and then an athlete and, compete at a high level against some of the best guys in the world, at folk style wrestling.
That's why I have infinite respect for collegiate wrestling and always have. And I mean, I've got a little bit of alma mater pride there as an Iowa State Cyclone. Thankfully, Minnesota and Iowa State are not in the same league, so we didn't have to cross paths very often. But I feel a little pride there for what Cale Sanderson was able to accomplish. And I always say wrestlers have the hardest job in the world because, I mean, it's one thing to be undefeated in MMA, but to go undefeated your entire collegiate career and then go to the Olympics and win, now that is really tough.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's truly incredible. And, everybody, wrestling, you have a bad day every now and then, and he never had a bad day. Maybe he had a bad day, but he still found a way to win, which is really, really, it's incredible, and John Smith winning 6 world titles, 2 Olympic gold, things like that are truly, truly incredible. And, MMA, people that don't understand amateur wrestling don't understand how hard that is to do what, some of our best wrestlers have done.
Well, that's why I'm happy to see guys like you and Ed Ruth and in the other league, Henry Cejudo, doing so well right now in mixed martial arts. And you're going to continue to do well, I'm sure, coming up here at Bellator 215 with Ian Pascu. It's going to be a fun fight on a main card on a loaded weekend with back-to-back nights in Uncasville. So when do you head out for the big show?
I think we head out next Tuesday. So head out next Tuesday and get everything settled in, work out Wednesday, make weight Thursday, fight Friday. So, busy week, but it'll be fun.
And it'll be fun to watch, Logan. I appreciate the time today, and if you want to thank any sponsors or mention any products, please go ahead at this time.
Yeah, I'd like to thank American Ethanol and Sanford Health.
All right. Logan, as always, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much. Have a great fight here at Bellator 215, and thank you very much. Dan, thank you as well.